everybody? Jim here, coming to you from my little fortress of solitude here in Tokyo, which is really kind of a tall order. Solitude in the most densely populated city on the planet. Maybe I shouldn't call it the Fortress of Solitude. It's just the Fortress of Jim. Having some coffee, a little bubble bobble, a little bit of coffee time here. Enjoying that, and another pickups video for you. Today, I have a nice little selection of Dreamcast games here. Picked up not as much Dreamcast as other consoles recently, but there's just some stuff on the Dreamcast you can't pass up. And again, I send out a lot of games in my Patreon rewards, and a very common request is Dreamcast games. Dreamcast, always a popular console with collectors, and there are a number of Dreamcast games that are fairly expensive if you want to buy like the North American copy, where maybe the Japanese version is a bit cheaper. And there aren't a ton of Japan exclusive games for the Dreamcast. Well, there are a lot of exclusive games for the Japanese Dreamcast, but a lot of them are like dating sims and stuff like that, so you probably won't really give a shit about those. But when it comes to like, the stuff you're really going to want to play, shooters and platformers, other things like that, a lot of stuff actually got released in other parts of the world. But there are still some really good Japan exclusives for the Dreamcast. And then just games in general for the Dreamcast are pretty great. I'm going to start off though, this one was exclusive to Japan. This is a game I've covered in the past. This is Cool Toon. And what this is a game developed by SNK, mind you. This was their foray into the world of rhythm games. Not the best rhythm game, mind you. You basically have a little circle, and as like it almost looks like little rain droplets or something, like when it hits the water and it reverberates outwards. As those things hit the outer circle, that's when you're hitting the buttons and fiddling with your sticks and stuff like that. So it's of all the rhythm games I've ever played, I think this is one of the ones where I had a bit of a tricky time at first getting the timing down, just because it just seems so much easier. Like Dance Dance Revolution, for example, you just hit the arrows when they appear. That seems pretty easy. This though, just the timing of like anticipating like the little circles closing in around the button and hitting it in time with that. I don't know. Just something about it was a little tricky to get the hang of at first. But once you do, this is a pretty fun game. It's called Cool Toon, so it's very like vibrant, colorful, cartoonish character designs and stages. So that's nice. I like the look of this game. The music is pretty good too. The gameplay is fun. And again, it's kind of just an oddity, not just for being a Japan exclusive Dreamcast game, but for being, I guess, what I believe is SNK's only ever venture into the rhythm game genre. So that's pretty cool. So this is a game that I did have quite a lot of fun with. And not the most expensive game as far as Dreamcast games go. Probably about a $40 game, which isn't cheap. But if you're into import collecting, I think this is one you'll probably want to pick up. Cool Toon on the Dreamcast. Pretty cool. This next game is just a game I love. It's absurdly fun. No game should be allowed to be this fun. Twinkle Star Sprites. If you've never played this game, this is another one. Was it developed? I guess it was developed by SNK. It is an SNK title, unless it was just published by them. It is a top-down shoot-'em-up, but it's a one-on-one versus shoot-'em-up. And the screen is split into two, sort of in the same vein of like a competitive puzzle game, like Puyo Puyo, or like maybe even like Puzzle Fighter or something like that. So as enemies enter the screen, you shoot them down, obviously, and when you can string together destroyed enemies, like the bigger a chain you can put together, the more enemies you can send over to your opponent's side of the screen, making things more difficult for them. Even do like special attacks, send over like big characters and things like that to take them down. So I think in the past, I and other people have described this as a cross between a shoot 'em up and a puzzle game. Honestly, puzzle elements, not really so much. More just think of it as a competitive shoot 'em up. The more you shoot down, the more hell you send to your opponent's side of the screen. But it's insanely fun. I love this game. The graphics are great. I love the really colorful visuals. I love the character designs. The soundtrack is awesome. This is one of my favorite games to just... If I decide I want to play my Dreamcast today, this is one of my favorite games to just pop in and, kill, 30 minutes to an hour with. It's just extremely fun. It is a little bit more of an expensive game on the Dreamcast. This can be up to a $100 game. Maybe even more sometimes. A little less if you get it out of spine card and stuff. This one, actually, I think this case was like reconstituted from other cases or something, so it was a little cheaper for me. But this game is amazing. If you are a collector of imports for your Dreamcast, you're going to want to play this game. I think there's also a version for the Sega Saturn. I think so anyway, but you cannot go wrong with Twinkle Star Sprites. Yeah, it's kind of pricey, but this game is insanely fun. I recommend picking it up, playing it any chance you get. Speaking of shoot 'em ups, one of my favorites on the Dreamcast, you could argue this is one of the best shoot 'em ups on the Dreamcast. This is Giggle Wing. And I will say, I know that Giggle Wing 2, especially I think in North America, is like the more sought after game. It's definitely the more expensive game. I think I picked this copy up for like $50, so it wasn't too terribly expensive picking up the Japanese version. I will say though, I prefer the original Giggle Wing. Giggle Wing 2 feels to me like it really pushes too hard with like the reflector force ability and stuff like that. Like it's almost like the game is built around the reflector force ability, and I don't know, like this feels more like just a solid, like well-designed shoot 'em up to me, and then the reflector force stuff is used as like, kind of a little additional gameplay feature. It's a gameplay feature. It's not the entire game, and that's how I like it. So this one, fast-paced, challenging, intense, bullet hell shooter. Just a lot of fun. Really, just great design by Capcom. It'd be nice to see them to do some more shoot 'em ups like this someday. But not a whole lot to say really. Giggle Wing, I like it better than Giggle Wing 2. One of the best shoot 'em ups on the system, and this is one anytime it's in the collection, I'm a happy camper, because just like Twinkle Star Sprites, if I have a little time to sit down with my Dreamcast, this is one that I'll usually pop in and enjoy, because you can have some fun with it for like half hour to an hour, and then go on with the rest of your day. And it's never a bad time when you're playing Giggle Wing. So yeah, the first Giggle Wing, Dreamcast, amazing game, love it, always happy to have it, and I need a little bit of a coffee break. Excuse me. Okay, good stuff. Good coffee today, good coffee. Alright, next pickup, great game, and definitely the most affordable game I picked up recently on the Dreamcast. Sakura Wars Columns 2. And this is like a $10 game right now. Very affordable, and I would say definitely worth the $10, especially if you're a fan of puzzle games, and columns in particular. So the whole crux of this game is, you can play just regular, one-player columns, but it is sort of meant to be like a competitive puzzle game, again, like Puyo Puyo, or a Puzzle Fighter, if you will. Bunch of different modes in it, and one thing that's kind of cool in here is there is a story mode, and so it plays out sort of like a story mode in the Sakura Wars games, where you're talking to all the various girls at the playhouse, and depending on like how well you talk to them, the responses you give them, their mood will change, and then you play a game of columns against them. So depending on how well you did in the conversational segments, that will change how difficult your game of columns is with them. If you don't really read Japanese though, or you're not really particularly interested in that, you probably won't care. This is still worth $10 anyway, just because it is a fun puzzle game. Again, it's columns, but it's competitive. So if you like the Puyo Puyo series, if you like puzzle fighter, if you like columns in general as a series, you'll really like this one. Graphics are pretty nice too. Soundtrack is pretty good. But just generally speaking, this is a great game to pick up if you're looking for Dreamcast imports and you don't want to spend that much money. Again, you can pick this up for like $10 and you'll have a lot of fun with it. So, Soccer Wars Columns 2, well worth picking up on your Dreamcast if you are so inclined. Next up, I have 2 games in the nifty like Dreamcast DVD cases, which is cool. There weren't a whole lot released like this. First up, great shoot 'em up by NG Dev Team. This is Fast Striker. And Fast Striker, I guess I can best describe it as it's very, very much in the style of Dodonpachi. So if you like bullet hell, maniac shooters like Dodonpachi and cave shooters, things like that, I wouldn't say this is as good as those games. Definitely it doesn't hold a candle to like Dodonpachi Saidaiyojo or something like that, but still very fun, very challenging for an indie game. I would say that the graphics are pretty nice, it controls really well. If you're a shooter fan, especially if you really like bullet hell stuff, you'll really enjoy this one, and the soundtrack is excellent. That's something that NG Dev Team, whatever you might think of some of their games, soundtracks are something they've always really had a great command of. So Fast Striker has a great soundtrack, or at least I think so. This game, as it is, this copy I have here, in the neighborhood of like $70 to $80, I think this goes for. It's up to you. I mean, do you love shooters that much? Are you that hardcore of a Dreamcast collector that you want to spend, $70 or $80 on this game? You may not. I personally, obviously, I thought it was worth it because I've bought this game multiple times. So I really like it. I like most of the stuff I've played by NG Dev Team. I think, there's definitely a certain like quality to them when you know you're definitely playing a game developed by NG Dev Team, where there's sort of, I don't know, there's like a quality, like I said, like it's not like Cave. Like when you're playing a game by Cave, you're like, okay, this is a Cave game. This is like top quality stuff. When you're playing NG Dev Team, like you're playing like a step down, but you're still playing a really enjoyable game. But again, that's my opinion. You might think differently. But anyway, Fast Striker for the Dreamcast, very great game. I like it a lot. And this last game, correct me if I'm wrong, was this like the last official release for the Dreamcast? Something like that? It still has the, Dreamcast spine and everything. But Triggerheart Xelica. This is a game that, again, one I really like a lot. Who the hell even developed this? Warashi. Okay. Developed by Warashi, which is a company I don't know much about. Did they develop other shoot-'em-ups? You maybe want to tell me. I enjoy this game, though. I enjoyed it for a couple, I'll start off with the things I don't really like, which is primarily, like, the visuals. The visuals in this game are pretty plain. Like, I like the character designs. I think those are pretty cool. But generally, the visuals and the stages don't really match, like, the colorful anime designs of the characters. So that's kind of a shortcoming for me. But they're not, like, horrible visuals. And I do like the soundtrack. Soundtrack is pretty cool. But the gameplay here is pretty damn excellent. So it's another, like, bullet hell maniac style shooter. So it's very challenging. Fast-paced game. You're gonna, definitely gonna take you a little while to like master the stages and things like that. Like I still haven't. Like I can't do like a no-death run in this game. I have not achieved that yet. Although I haven't really done that many with mini shooters anyway. But it is a challenging game. It is a fun shoot 'em up, and it does have kind of a unique mechanic where you can attach sort of like an anchor to enemy ships and then use them as like either like to shield yourself, or you can just swing them around like a hammer throw and throw them at your enemies, so you can grab enemy ships and then fling them at other enemy ships, and that's pretty cool. That's a unique mechanic. I don't think I've ever seen that in another shoot 'em up before. So at the very least, Triggerheart Xelica has that feather in its cap. It's got a unique gameplay mechanic. But again, just in general, fun gameplay, challenging, something that'll probably keep you coming back. If you're a shoot 'em up fan, a game that's well worth playing if you're a shooter fan, and not one of the most expensive shooters on the console. Again, like a $50 game maybe, somewhere between 50 and 60 bucks, which isn't cheap, mind you, for a used game. It's not chump change, but it's not on the same level as like Border Down or something like that. So Triggerheart Xelica, really good game on the Dreamcast, a lot of fun, enjoying it, and I recommend playing it. And that's it for these Dreamcast games. Not quite so many. I think I was like 7 games. I don't know, when I get on talking like this, like I get all parched. I'm sure that the coffee doesn't help either with the old dry throat. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. You can feel free to let me know in the comments if you've played any of these games. What do you think of them? Or if you are a Dreamcast collector, what are some of your favorite games in your collection? Or if you are thinking about getting into Dreamcast collecting, what are some of the games you're looking out for? Like I said, great place to start would be with something like, if you're looking at imports anyway, Sakura Wars Columns 2, like a $10 game. Can't really go wrong with that. Other things are, you know, really attractive, like Twinkle Star Sprites, Cool Tune, Border Down, you know. But these are pretty expensive games, but still great nonetheless. So anyway, let me know all that stuff down in the comments. And I think that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. So until next time, thanks for watching and take care. I'll see you then. Goodbye.